In a world where whispers can send chills down your spine, we delve into the unsettling realm of ASMR creepypasta. Tonight, we bring you a tale that has haunted the internet for years: the Russian sleep experiment. As you listen, close your eyes and let the soft whispers and subtle sounds envelop you in a dark, immersive experience. The story you are about to hear is a chilling account from the depths of psychological horror. With each whisper, we will uncover the dreadful details of this nightmarish experiment, one that pushes the boundaries of human endurance and sanity. Remember, this is just a story, or is it? Prepare yourself, for the darkness awaits. In the late 1940s, Soviet researchers embarked on a sinister project, hidden from the eyes of the world. Their goal was to test the limits of human endurance by depriving subjects of sleep for an extended period. Rumors say the experiment took place in a secluded, secret bunker far from prying eyes. The subjects? Political prisoners deemed expendable. The researchers promised freedom to the subjects if they could stay awake for 15 days. They were kept in a sealed environment with a carefully controlled stimulant gas to prevent sleep. The atmosphere was tense, filled with an eerie silence that was only broken by the occasional shuffle of footsteps or the soft hum of the gas chamber. The chosen subjects were 5 men deemed enemies of the state. They were selected for their perceived expendability, their lives considered a small price for the potential gains of the experiment. They were promised freedom if they could endure the 15 days without sleep. This promise of liberation was a glimmer of hope in their otherwise bleak existence. These men were desperate, clinging to the hope of liberation, unaware of the horrors that lay ahead. They had no idea that the experiment would push them to the very edge of human endurance. As the days wore on, the stimulant gas took its toll. The gas, designed to keep them awake, began to wreak havoc on their bodies and minds. The subjects became increasingly erratic, their conversations turning from coherent to nonsensical ramblings. Their once clear thoughts became a jumbled mess of paranoia and fear. The lack of sleep was gnawing at their sanity, and the researchers watched with a growing sense of dread. They began to realize the true cost of their experiment. The subjects, once hopeful, began to exhibit signs of severe psychological distress. Their mental states deteriorated rapidly, showing signs of hallucinations and extreme paranoia. The experiment was meant to be a test of endurance, but it quickly became apparent that it was more a test of the researchers' morality. They were forced to confront the ethical implications of their actions, questioning whether the pursuit of knowledge was worth the human cost. On the first day, the subjects were calm, talking to each other and the researchers through the microphones provided, hoping to keep their spirits high. Little did they know, the true horror was just beginning. The gas flowed steadily, and the subjects felt an initial rush of energy, believing they could conquer the challenge ahead. By the second day, their conversations began to take a darker turn. Paranoia set in, whispers of distrust echoed through the chamber. By the third day, the subjects' physical condition started to decline. On the fourth day, the screaming began, a blood-curdling sound that echoed through the bunker. By the fifth day, the situation had deteriorated beyond control. The subjects had stopped talking to each other, retreating into their own shells of insanity. They sat in silence, eyes fixed on some unseen horror, their bodies trembling with exhaustion. The researchers watched, their fascination tinged with a growing sense of dread. The subjects began to exhibit extreme paranoia, whispering their fears and hallucinations to the microphones. The food remained untouched. Their bodies grew gaunt, their faces pale and drawn. By the end of the fifth day, the researchers were faced with a harrowing decision. They chose to continue, driven by a morbid curiosity that overpowered their sense of humanity. The sixth day brought a new level of madness, a descent into chaos that no one could have predicted. The subjects, now completely isolated from each other and reality, began to mutilate themselves in a desperate attempt to feel something, anything. The room was filled with the sickening sound of tearing skin and the smell of blood, a macabre symphony of suffering. The researchers were horrified, but also fascinated, unable to look away from the unfolding nightmare. They observed as the subjects inflicted wounds upon themselves, seemingly indifferent to the pain, as if it were a normal part of their existence. By the seventh day, the subjects had stopped eating altogether, their bodies wasting away. They sat motionless, their bodies emaciated, their eyes blank, devoid of any spark of life. The eighth day brought a new horror, one that would haunt the researchers forever. The subjects began to speak, but their words were a jumbled mix of gibberish and cries for help, a disturbing cacophony of madness. The ninth day saw the subjects' physical condition deteriorate even further, their bodies breaking down under the strain. Their bodies were covered in sores, their flesh hanging from their bones, a grotesque testament to their suffering. The researchers documented every detail, their horror masked by a clinical detachment as they tried to make sense of the madness. By the 11th day, the subjects had become unrecognizable. Their eyes were sunken, their skin a sickly gray. The transformation was shocking, a stark contrast to their initial healthy appearances. They had lost all sense of time and reality, existing in a perpetual state of delirium. Their bodies were covered in self-inflicted wounds, their flesh raw and bleeding. The pain seemed to be the only thing anchoring them to their twisted reality. The researchers watched with a mix of horror and fascination, unable to look away. The subjects had stopped communicating with each other and the researchers. Their vacant stares were haunting, as if their souls had been stripped away. They sat in silence, their eyes vacant, their bodies trembling. The room was filled with a palpable sense of dread, a silence that was more terrifying than any scream. The air was thick with an unspoken terror, a shared understanding of their grim fate. On the 12th day, the subjects began to exhibit signs of extreme aggression. They lashed out at the walls, at each other, and at themselves. Their behavior was erratic and violent, a desperate attempt to escape their torment. By the 13th day, the subjects were on the brink of death. The researchers chose to continue, driven by a morbid curiosity that overpowered their sense of humanity. They were captivated by the unfolding horror, unable to resist the pull of their dark fascination. The researchers, detached as they were, began to show signs of guilt and doubt. They watched as the subjects tore at their own flesh, their bodies a canvas of self-inflicted wounds. They listened to the subjects' cries for help, their pleas for release. But still, they continued, driven by a need to see the experiment through to the end. The researchers documented every moment of the subjects' suffering. By the 14th day, the researchers could see the toll that the experiment had taken on the subjects. The room was a cacophony of screams and the sound of flesh hitting flesh. The 15th day brought a sense of relief but also dread. The final days of the experiment were a descent into madness. The subjects, now completely broken, exhibited behaviors that defied explanation. They spoke in tongues, their voices a mix of gibberish and cries for help. They lashed out at the walls, at each other, and at themselves. The room was a cacophony of screams and the sound of flesh hitting flesh. By the 16th day, the subjects were on the brink of death. The 17th day brought a sense of relief but also dread. The researchers knew they would never forget the horrors they had witnessed. The experiment ended on the 18th day, but the horrors it unleashed continued to haunt the researchers. They had witnessed the depths of human suffering, the breaking point of sanity. The subjects, now lifeless husks, were a testament to the dangers of pushing the boundaries of human endurance. The researchers were left to grapple with the consequences of their actions. They had sacrificed their humanity in the pursuit of knowledge, and the cost had been too high. The experiment was a grim reminder of the dangers of unchecked curiosity. It showed the lengths to which humans will go in the pursuit of knowledge and the devastating consequences that can result. In the end, the Russian sleep experiment was a cautionary tale. As we conclude this chilling tale, we invite you to reflect on the horrors we have uncovered. The Russian sleep experiment serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked curiosity and the lengths to which humans will go in the pursuit of knowledge. If you found this story as haunting as we did, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us continue to bring you more tales from the darkest corners of the human psyche. Join us as we delve deeper into the unknown, exploring the boundaries of fear and the human mind. Remember, the darkness is always closer than we think. Stay vigilant and sleep well, if you can.